Hello and welcome to the Philippines. Cebu City has turned into a bit of a ghost town. It's under enhanced community quarantine. Very much a lockdown. Almost all businesses are closed. Food stores are open. Um, Transportation is shut down except a few public, free public buses, and not sure where they're running. Of course, hospitals, police, delivery people are still operating. And this video was taken by a friend of mine, and I'm going to put it up. And I've got a few things to chat about during this thing. She encountered a few people along the way, and I'm going to quit talking while she has a conversation with them. The first person up here in a little bit. She was walking. There was a guy, a construction worker, who had arrived at his agency down near Cologne Street area to pick up what he believed was going to be a 5,000 peso advance on salary. Instead, they gave him a sack of rice, and all the other construction workers as well. Uh, so maybe 500 pesos worth of rice instead of 5,000 pesos worth of living expenses, and he was not real happy about that. Anyway, we'll listen in on that conversation.
Muli dong. Ha? Banawa? Pero na may dip pa. Ha? Mag-taxi na lang ka. Mau lagi na?
Ikan po ko sa Di 4 kay nagkuha rin ba inutang na mo kay kuha na mo may ayo tong kuha na mo dulin sarado mo po.
Sarado man ang duli.
Assessment na mo nya utang ra man noon.
Pautang nga sa unsa man day na imong trabaho?
Instruction mo nya dako mo banyahan nya may ayo. May pagkasweldo to 80 ra nya. Nya naon pa may wami tagae nga taga San Carlos na no. Taga Negros na mi. Kaya nung patya ni nila.
Nya pero gisulduhan mo.
Sildo ma'am, 2,000 ra ka pa nya gi naalay gisaad na mo nga taga mo pasige kuno la di sugot ra mi balag kasi importante ba magbuhi na pamilya na mo kay sa kabuan lockdown na.
Nya.
Sa April 28 sa buwan na pabalik trabaho na mo. Mo man ni ata gipili ra mo noon.
Ay dili po na ikaw na lang
ninyo.
ninyo.
Kuno ko, siyempre nakapamilya kong Cebu. Nya.
Asa man day nang inyong kuan, inyong construction?
Wala na mo nga traders mo ba?
Ha?
Land traders.
Land traders, developer no?
Idalagay ng mga Cebu na ako tanan kay kami ngayon kasi sari sa duli ba kay katagaan mi eh.
Sarado man ang duli.
Lagi lain kami kapin gabi nagreklamo kay kami na tagaan abi nagto may gipangatag ng bugas na una nila kay gipakuan mi.
Anya?
Kairan man yan.
Yan sa man nang gitautang nila.
Bugas.
Bugas, good.
Nautang to kayo pangatag niya.
Nya with interest.
Wala.
Maglakaw lang ka, dolo lamang banawa.
Dola lang ginoon. Eh pagod.
Wala di sa kinala.
If I understood that correctly, he had about 10 kilos of rice at between 40 and 50 pesos per kilo, and he was hauling that 2.2 pounds to a kilo, so about 23 pounds, something like that. He drug that 3-4 kilometers because there are no taxis, there are no jeepneys, there are no buses. And he carried that up to the Dole office, D-O-L-E, Department of Labor office. He was going to complain because apparently they were promised cash advance, and all they got was rice. But it was a Saturday, and they weren't able to get in there. So now he wanted to go to Banawa, which is another probably 2 kilometers away. He was waiting for a bus or a jeepney again. No such thing operating. There's a lockdown. There's a shutdown of all transportation. So one of the deals that happens here is that if you go to the grocery and you buy a bunch of grocery, understand that you're probably going to carry that. And along the way here, she come across a number of people. This next group was actually walking. They had hired a jeepney driver to take them down to the South Bus Terminal. and he was arrested because jeepneys aren't allowed to be operating. So the driver was arrested, and these guys were going to walk to the South Bus Terminal. Later on, you'll see a guy with was in town for dialysis, come from the other side of Cebu Island, and he could not get back home over there. Walk.
Wala ni sakyanan? Asa mo na gikan ang inyong sakyanan? Ha?
Bus, terminal.
North ba? South bus?
South bus.
Maglakaw ra?
Ako kay kita ko pero mo ang bus sakyanan mo.
Ay, lutsin. Sige, sige.
So their jeepney driver was arrested, and they were having to walk, and some of the unintended consequences when you don't have time to plan that far in advance. A lot of these people don't have access to the latest news as it's happening, probably. So there are a number of people who can get caught up in the mess. And anyway, yeah, just very, very, very few people out. If you have a private vehicle, you're allowed to drive it around as long as you have a pass, and you're allowed to go. Now they're going to shut down the city boundaries also, so even going from Cebu City to Mandaue City, you would need a special pass and a special reason. You have to have a reason to go across that boundary line. And I think they're going to be a little bit lenient the first couple days, but after that, they'll just stop people, turn them around. My friend said she ran into 3 different police and military checkpoints that checked her ID, and she has an ID that she works over by Ayala Mall. That's where she was walking to. And there are no taxis. There is no transportation. So if you want to go someplace, you need to walk. And if you buy something, you're going to be carrying it wherever you want to go to. That big gray building there, block building on the right, that is going to be the new metro. That is hooked on to Ayala Mall, big part of Ayala Mall, big department store. They've about a year ago or so, they opened up the grocery store down on the basement level. And I don't know when the rest of that's going to open up. Sometime later this year, perhaps. I'm not sure. Anyway, virtually this traffic is usually very busy around here, around the mall. I suspect also there's a ton of construction going on. I suspect that a lot of that has been shut down for a number of reasons. They probably can't get their supplies delivered in a reasonable amount of time. And then, of course, there's the issue with social distancing. These contractors, construction workers are working in pretty close to each other oftentimes, so there is some risk there. Now, there is at least one good thing that, at least to some degree, will happen because of this giant crisis that we're presently in. 30 years ago or more, as almost everything on the shelves in the stores started saying "Made in China," "Made in China." Didn't take a rocket scientist to understand that putting all your eggs in one basket, especially in a country that owns the government, Communist Party owns most of that, for those factories. And of course, they subsidize many of those industries in China, putting a big hurt on factories and workers in much of the rest of the world. So one thing that hopefully will happen is that companies, manufacturing facilities, service facilities will diversify and move those factories out of China and into many other countries, many back to their original home bases, perhaps. And now here's the big the entrance to the big jeepney, the public utility vehicle terminal right next to Ayala Mall. And the gates are closed, and it is closed. There are no jeepneys. There is no way to find transportation unless you have private vehicle, pretty much, or you can find one of those very few public buses that they have running. I haven't seen one yet. And another thing, the majority of medicines in the United States and probably across Europe as well are made in China. The country that is, if there's going to be another big war, that country will probably be the enemy of many of the other countries in the world. And you have your medicine being made there. How much sense does that make? Oh, this area along here, this is usually the big lineup of taxis normally along here. Absolutely zero. There are no taxis running present time. One other good thing that might happen is that a number of people will put more thought into planning for the future. Think a little more about their health and well-being, and we've all become very complacent. Many of us have become very complacent, thinking, well, the government's got everything under control. The medical industry has everything under control. If there's a disease, they'll fix it. If we need food, they'll make sure that we get it delivered one way or another. The farmers out there, they do a great job making sure that we don't go hungry. And something that happened here in down in CDO, Cagayan de Oro in northern Mindanao the other day. The mayor in that region, they produce like 55% of the rice for that whole region there. And he put out a request, I think, to buy 60,000 bags of rice at a certain price, and he didn't have any takers. So he made a proclamation that no more rice can leave our region. I think a day or two later he rescinded that order, of course. But what a way to put a panic into people is to say, hey, we have half the rice, and we're not going to let you, the rest of you, have any of it. We're going to keep it all to ourselves. And I read an article the other day, and that may happen in the world, as there have been weather events that have reduced the yields of different crops around the world. And you may see certain parts of the world hoarding certain crops, and you may see shortages in other parts of the world. So hopefully some thought will go into that. And here going into Ayala Mall, and then you have to go downstairs is where the Metro grocery store is, the supermarket. And everything's pretty much blocked off except the way to go over the escalator and get down. Metro entrance. All the stores are shut down virtually. I understand that banks are allowed to stay open, and a friend of mine mentioned that he had sent some money to somebody and it didn't show up. I'm not sure if that's an electronic issue or a bank issue, if ATMs in the area were not being restocked properly. Not sure of the details. I went about a week ago, I went and sent myself some extra cash just to make sure I had cash on hand, because I wasn't sure what the future would hold. Pharmacies are open. That's good. Dunkin' Donuts was closed. That's not good. But pretty much we haven't seen, I've heard from other friends that live in different parts of the Philippines too, that there doesn't seem to be any shortages. Today my friend said that she went into the two different grocery stores, Fuda and the Metro, and the very few people, so it wasn't crowded at all. There was not a line queued up to get in, and here they had chairs set outside the area, a meter apart at least, where people could sit and wait, and they would only allow a certain number of people in at a time. And that wasn't a factor today on a Saturday. Here's where the chairs are all set up for people to wait for a queue to get in to the stores. And once outside, again, this is the Public Utility Vehicle Terminal, PUV terminal, and several people out here. The guy sitting there on the curb, he's had dialysis and trying to get back to Balamban, which is over on the other side of the island. and he had dialysis. He came in on a bus, and he was planning on taking a V-Hire or jeepney back over there. And as you can see, the gates are all locked up. These people are also waiting. They didn't know that all the transportation was going to be shut down, and they're planning on going over to the other side of the island as well. So a bit of a predicament that I wouldn't want to be in.
Naglakaw gikan diha doon to sa south. Kay walay sakyan. Nya nganong gipalakaw man ka? Wa ka nagkuan og mga sakyanan dai gikan sa ospital?
Nala madana karang ada dialysis pero bangsa. Siguro karang
Sukor?
ada are. Betul sukor.
Oh, mga service na nila, mga service.
Sa terminal na pa ro biyahe bro.
Wala na, sirado na dito.
Sinadyo na.
Lakaw naman tao.
Ganiha pa naglakaw kay gipangdakop na.
Biyahe pa sa binyangat po.
Saon man ikuan na.
Pero tay pag aringin mo kanina ang buntag, nagsakay ka diha, wa jud ka nangutana pud sa taga-Bihar.
Asa pa uli ma'am?
Kauban mo nay? Wala na lang nay, hangin na lang mo ka nang enforcer.
Oh, enforcer na lang.
Sabay na lang mo ni tatay kay walay kuyog sa si tatay.
Tulungin. Ako na kung paano dialysis ni umana niya. Nalangan mi sa oras ba?
Oh, dialysis sa siya.
Oh, dapat naman mo sa hospital, ba?
Karon ba di ay gyud ang way kuan?
Wala kay kontak sa Balamban nga kuan.
Ano, untak mi wa man kun tubag yo masiguro na. Ano?
Asa man mo ron tulog.
Dili sa gobernador ra jud mo makakuan, makapangayo og tabang.
Sama nang bana ma.
Apa kay bugnaw siya? Hindi siya
Sama
ano sa nireling ko kay bugnaw.
Hospital man dialysis.
Sa siguro. Sa isakyan mo dili.
Sayo ko kadlaw ko.
Adi ba pagari dili?
Nara pagala may.
Namo ni bago nga buhat.
Sa sukor na siya.
Aso ko.
Doon naman ang kaunan eh.
Ah.
Tago na ko na sa akin. Wala gihay, wala gihay.
Na, taga mga tao ganina naglakaw ra sad sila jud. Padung sa South Terminal.
Dialysis. Dili ka pwede matambay.
May kontak ka naman. Mag-taxi mo ba? Mag-taxi mo niya.
Or mo-contact lang ka sa imuhang kuan diha. Imuhang station na naay magpakuan diri magpatabang.
Sana mag-video ka.
And of course, the bikini bars are closed out here on Mango Avenue and all the bars. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and stay out of trouble as much as you can. They got the road blocked up there, motorcycle policemen, and no traffic. Safe travels, and we'll see you next time.